make the playoffs, and last night, his game plan proved that. Lillard put the Blazers on his back, tying a career-high 61 points in a 134-131 win over the Mavericks. With the win, Lillard has pushed Portland into the 8th seed with one game to play on Thursday. Fox Sports NBA analyst Chris Broussard with us now. Chris, how impressive was that guy Dame last night?
Wow, that was fantastic. I mean, the numbers speak for themselves. The 61 points, the 22 points in the fourth quarter, 9 3-pointers, 18 for 18 from the foul line. And also, he drew a charge at the end of the game with 4 seconds left and threw in 8 assists. So Dame Lillard was tremendous. I call it a regular season masterpiece. And I see Skip over there shrugging, but I call it a regular season masterpiece. And what made it a masterpiece is the context, the stakes. The game is the game. But what makes players either shrink or melt down are the stakes. What is on the line? What is the context of the game? And the stakes for a regular season game really couldn't have been much higher. Number one, it was essentially a playoff game because as every game in the bubble has been for the Portland Trail Blazers, it was a must-win situation. Number two, Dame already said, I'm only in the bubble because we have a chance to make the playoffs. So he put the pressure on himself going into the bubble, saying, I want a chance to make it, and now he's making good on it. Number three, they were facing another playoff team with, I'll say, 2 stars, because Porzingis is balling out lately and really all season. And then Luka, you got a superstar. He outdueled both superstars in this game. Number 4, he's coming off a 51-point game. You rarely see guys go back-to-back 50s. Only 12 players in the history of the game have done it, and only one guy shorter than Dame. That, of course, Allen Iverson. Number 5, his running mate, his second leading scorer, C.J. McCollum, is playing with a back injury. Again, in a must-win game, McCollum can only go for 8 points because he's hampered by the injury. So that makes it big. Number 6, this is a week when two well-respected players throughout the league, 2 of your rivals on the Clippers, call you out and mock you publicly. And then finally, of course, the controversy with Skip. And all that is the context in which this dude goes out and has a historic game. 61 in any, game is great. But to do it under these circumstances, a masterpiece.
Are you done? You sure you don't have 7, 8, 9, and 10 to go through? So,
hey, it is what it is.
My man Chris Broussard goes masterpiece. My man across the table went virtuoso. So it's somewhere between a virtuoso of a masterpiece, says Chris and Shannon. I will give you all of the above for the first 46 and a half minutes of that game. And that's a lot of game. And it was Dame time for 46 and a half minutes. And then it wasn't. And I can't get to masterpiece. I can't get to virtuoso because Shannon always says I moved the goalpost. But no, my goalposts are still right there. It's a 100-yard field. And if you go 99 yards and then you fumble or you get lucky in the last yard, I can't go masterpiece. And in the last 130 of that game, Damian Lillard got shaky and he got lucky. And I will detail right now for you, Chris Broussard, how that happened. He takes a shot from Cape Canaveral. He launched it 33 feet to tie the game with 129 left, and we could see that. And he shoots it long and hard, and it back irons so hard that it rises up into the atmosphere 2 backboards high and somehow comes down, lucky as it was, and basically swishes because it was coming down with such force. It had to swish or it was not going to go through the basket. That is a shot that misses 999,000 times out of 1,000,000. It just misses. It's the one that I told Shannon, you could go out and give Dame the basketball. You could give him 1,000 basketballs after the game and say, recreate that shot. And he might take 1 billion shots before he could recreate that shot. It was lucky. It wasn't quite as lucky as the one Kawhi made to win Game 7 against the Sixers, but it was up there in luck. So then also fortuitously, they come down to the other end, and Porzingis, who's having a sensational game in and of himself at 7 feet 3 inches tall, fouls out. And all of a sudden, there's no rim protector for the Dallas Mavericks. So Dame comes back to the other end. I'm going to give him this. He made a nice textbook dish to a Hassan Whiteside, if we could see this, who was just wide open. There's no zinger. They just left him alone. Klebe is somewhere in the lane, but it's a pretty easy dish and dunk. So now we come back down, and Dame has a shot to basically clinch at least overtime. He's got Dame dollar money shot, and he misses that jump shot. And he leaves the door open because it's still just a 1-point game for Luka and company. And here come the Mavericks, down only one, and Luka goes LeBron. Luka decides, I just missed a big free throw. I don't think I want to drive it and try to get to the free throw line. And he makes the quote-unquote right basketball play. He bounce passes to a Trey Burke who's cutting underneath the basket along the baseline, but he's too deep to actually try to turn and make a shot. But Trey Burke immediately spies, aha, Dorian Finney-Smith is wide open in the corner. He is 3 of 5 from 3, so he is shooting it with a pretty hot hand. And he is spotted up, begging for the basketball. Why was he wide open? I don't know what Damian was doing. He lost touch with the man he was covering, Dorian Finney-Smith. But what does Trey Burke do? He dishes to the corner, and then he veers to the right. And Chris said, well, that Damian drew a charge. No, wait. Trey Burke just goes. He thinks somehow weirdly, I got to screen him a little bit. No, you don't. It's unnecessary. The man is wide open. And he tries to screen him, and he runs into him. And again, Rick Carlisle said after the game, that's a flop. His coaching staff looked at their iPads and said, that's a flop. Should be fined, said Rick Carlisle. He said, maybe he will get a fine for that. Whatever. I guess I would have called it. Shannon held my feet to the fire. If it's a foul in the first quarter, it's a foul at the end of the game. But don't tell me that Dame drew it. He was just in the wrong place at the rightest time. He was blessed at the end of the game. He kept getting breaks. And that one wiped off the 3 that ripped clean from the corner that would have maybe won the game. I would love to have seen Dame Dollar get another money shot at the other end. That would have been great theater last night.
No.
Well, I wanted to see it because maybe with 4.5 left, he would have gotten a shot and made a 38-footer to win the game.
You know what would have happened? If they make that 3 and Dame comes down and makes a 3 that ties it, you know what Skip's going to say? Well, you should have, because you missed the shot to put him in the situation to begin with. Skip Bayless is the type of guy that can have a great meal. Everything is perfect. Everybody, the Maitre D seats him on time. Everything is perfect. But because the guy didn't fill his glass up with water on time, man, it was terrible. You see, he's going to find the one thing instead of looking at the positive.
Nobody told me that waiter is the greatest waiter in the history of basketball. I'm sorry.
No, you just missed the entire meal because the waiter was a little late with the water. Dame Lillard was responsible for 30 of the 36 points. He scored 22, and he handed out another couple of assists to get to 30 of his 36.
I give you that.
Skip. But here's the thing. Since he missed that free throw, Dame Lillard is 36 and 37 from the free throw line. If he scores 40, Chris, they get beat by 20. If he scores 50, they lose by 8 to 10. They needed all that because, as you mentioned, C.J. back is hurting. Nurkic gave them nothing yesterday. Garrett Trent Jr. has gone cold suddenly from the three-point line. So basically, this was Dame. Now, one of the biggest shots that were hit that's going unnoticed is that Dame got into the lane and he kicked it to Carmelo. And Melo hit a 3. Melo turned back the hands of time yesterday also. Yep. But Dame Lillard was spectacular yesterday. I can't find fault. I mean, if you want to nitpick, Chris, you know this. Chris, you could go back in time and go back to anybody's game and find a situation where they turned the ball over, where they missed a shot, or they did something. But at the end of the day, we look at this performance in its totality. It's hard for me